Hey everybody, welcome back to Gideon Stuff. Well, Cheap Knife Week is over, and it's time to give kind of some final conclusions on the 5 knives I decided to review for this week. And I might do this again. I might do a Cheap Knife Week Part 2, because I really do like kind of digging through the budget bins at different stores and seeing if there's hidden gems. Of course, there are knives that you can get that, I didn't mention in this video because I kind of felt like they were, a little bit too well known. For example, I know a lot of people who will, go to, their local Walmart and get a Spyderco Tenacious, which is, that's a good choice. Or, Crkt Squid too is another popular Walmart knife. Not this version, but, you guys know what I mean. And, that's great, but I really do like looking for kind of hidden gems, like I already said. And again, if this is your first time watching Cheap Knife Week, I recommend you go and watch the other videos we did for this. But kind of the premise behind this was there are people out there who need pocket knives. There are people out there who rely on a pocket knife for their job, their livelihood, or just, their personal life. But a lot of those people are not knife enthusiasts. They will not go online to Blade HQ, White Mountain Knives, Knife Center, DLT Trading, whatever, and order a pocket knife in. They will go to the feed store to buy a knife. And I brought up the example of my grandpa. He was kind of who I was thinking of when I did this list. My grandpa and I work together a lot on the ranch and stuff when I'm there. And I've seen my grandpa go through so many knives. In fact, growing up, everyone I knew, my grandpa, my dad, my uncles, cousins, everyone, myself included, we would use our pocket knives until they fell apart. And then we'd throw them away, and we'd get a new one. And that was just kind of the way it was. That was kind of the way I thought it was all the time. Pocket knives have a finite lifespan. And once you kill the knife, it's done, you throw it away, and you get a new one. And that is true. I mean, not every knife is going to last forever. Maybe a Sabenza, okay. But as I got deeper into the enthusiast part of the hobby, I realized that there are definitely knives out there that will last a lot longer than some of the junk I was using previously, And so for this video, I wanted to go to in-person shops and pick out these 5 knives, and they had to be under $30. The most expensive one is this one. The cheapest one was this one. And I just wanted to see if these knives would hold up to prolonged use for a regular person. Now again, my grandpa, kind of a more hard use type guy. We're talking about working out in the woods, working on the ranch, you're cutting wood, hay string, irrigation tarp, his lunch, all these different things out in dirty, gritty environments. But I was also thinking about just kind of more broad, common EDC as well. What could someone who's not a knife expert get with these knives? And so some of the things I took into consideration were, my grandpa obviously knows how to sharpen a knife. But, someone who needs a knife, who's not a knife enthusiast, might not know how to sharpen a knife very well. So sharpenability is a big thing. Stainlessness is a big thing. The build quality, I think, is the biggest thing, because if the knife feels like junk, that person's not going to want it. Even someone who's not a knife expert can recognize garbage. As a species, we humans have an ingrained appreciation for tools, and we can all smell bullshit when it's there, even if we don't really recognize it, Even me, when I was a teenager, and I was carrying my little Tractor Supply assisted opening weird little knife, there were things about that drove me nuts. Oh, why does the blade rub against one side? Oh gosh, closing an assisted knife is, kind of a chore sometimes. Or, oh my goodness, after cutting through the strings on one bale of hay, my edge is already tore up. Why is that? You know, oh my goodness, I've sharpened this knife till the blade looks like a needle. We all kind of have a appreciation for good quality. And we all have appreciation for when something works and when it doesn't. You know, I have seen lots of people get their knife out and they start cutting stuff and then they just get sick because it's not cutting right and throw it away. In fact, my dad loved carrying those little razor blade knives, or just take the razor blade in and out, because they actually cut. Unlike a lot of other knives that you can get at your feed store and stuff, you know, it will cut because it's a razor blade. And now I think my dad's kind of starting to come around. You know, I've got him carrying more knives. This is his knife that I just happen to have in for some servicing. Focus in there, camera. And see, this is a good knife, but, you know, they do take damage when you're using your knife out on the ranch. And my dad's a large animal vet, so he uses his knives in a bunch of different places. Stuff happens. But, like this CGRB Taiga, when my dad gave it to me, I mean, there was blade play, lock rock, the edges all chipped up, there was a bunch of different issues. I've been able to fix most of them. And the knife is still kicking. Like, it's still kicking. I do still obviously need to put an edge on it, but it's still kicking. In fact, I think this will be the third edge I put on here for my dad. And this time, I think the last edge I put on here for him was a 15 degree, not mirror edge. As you can see, I don't like mirror edges on D2, but I put a nice toothy 15 degree edge on here. That might have made the edge just a little too fragile. I'm not sure what I'll do for this round of sharpening. But regardless, that knife is still kicking. It's held up. And that's fantastic. So, these knives here. What do I think of them? I think we got kind of a good sampling size. And I tried to get, you know, some things that are a little bit diverse. I tried to mix it up a little bit. You know, we have a non-locking knife. We have a multi-tool knife. We have kind of a more enthusiast-friendly knife. And then we have kind of these two that multiple deployment options. And then this one is just, I just got it because I saw it and I thought it looked good. But I've carried them all for several weeks. In the case of some of them, like this one, I've had this knife for over a year, and I've been using him on and off for a while. They've all been carried, they've all been used, and I feel like I have a good grasp on what their capabilities are. Obviously, because I did reviews on them, and I don't review a knife unless I feel like I know it very well. So, now we're going to rank them and talk a little bit about their strengths and weaknesses and wrap up Cheap Knife Week. And maybe we'll do this again sometime. Who knows? Let me know in the comments below if you think I should do this again, if you liked this enough. Okay, ranking time. Alrighty, so the worst knife that we reviewed for Cheap Knife Week is the Schrade SCH numbers. I don't even care to remember. This knife, I really think, was the worst one we reviewed, and there's a few reasons. I really do think that if someone were to buy this knife as a first-time knife buyer, they'd be really, really disappointed. This knife is on bearings, and you can get a good flip if you know what you're doing, but for someone who's maybe not experienced, I think this knife will make them hate bearings because they'll think, oh no, the knife doesn't work, I need an assist. You know, which obviously you don't. I do think it's kind of interesting that all these knives have bearings except for, oh, actually, never mind, only 3 of them have bearings. I'm an idiot. But, yeah, the action is just not very good. I think it'll frustrate a lot of people. The blade is not a performer at all. The 9CR steel is great, and at the price, I got this for $15. I think that was fantastic. But this knife, the geometry is more like an axe than a knife. It's very small in the hand, very cramped. I mean, the size of the knife that this is would make me want to recommend it more to a kid, but again, with those, you know, the bad action, I just don't think this is a very recommendable knife at all. So, it's going to go right there in last place. Next up is the other Schrade. I know, I feel horrible all these Schrades scored so low, and I like Schrade. I have a soft spot for Schrade. I carried a lot of Schrades growing up, and actually, most of the knives I carried growing up, the Schrades were the ones that lasted the longest. But anyways, with this knife here, I think this is actually a decently good knife. The thumb stud action is fantastic. The flipper action is not the best, but if you just stick with thumb studs, it's really, really good. And so the flipper action is kind of holding it back in a lot of ways. I do feel like this knife would last a lot longer than this knife. Obviously not forever. You can see the lockup is already moving over quite a bit, but some of the other big problems on this knife are that it's really heavy. The scales are very, very slippery. I think if you're wanting this for kind of a hard use knife, the slippery scales makes it not a good option. And if you want this knife for just regular EDC, I think the heaviness is going to be a big deal breaker for a lot of people. The knife itself, though, I will say, is actually a lot better than I expected, especially since I paid, it was $9.99, so I paid $10 for this. I think Knife Center has these for $15. The 9CR steel for that price range is absolutely excellent. Not the best geometry, but also not terrible. Overall, I think this knife is one that... This actually does remind me of something that I would have carried as a teenager, and I think I would have really enjoyed it more than some other knives, but I do think I would have eventually killed it. I think it would have eventually died and perished and just been another knife in the trash. But again, $10, and the 9CR steel is definitely great, very stainless, pretty tough. For a stainless steel, I've had good results with 9CR, and yeah, easy to sharpen, and it holds an edge for a good time. So this one I wouldn't say is like terrible, but it's not like amazing. All right, third place. This third and second place is really hard to determine, but I decided to give third place to the unnamed multi-tool. Also, you see how it says titanium here? I didn't really talk a whole lot in the reviews about Camillus' titanium treatment, but apparently it's supposed to make their steel stronger and hold an edge longer, and I don't know. What I can say, though, is that this knife is 100% functional, and I think it'll do really, really good. Camillus makes some excellent knives in the lower tiers. This knife cost me $15, and I think it's excellent. It's definitely a great knife for that money. It's running on Teflon washer, so this is definitely a knife that if you're wanting to, work a little bit harder, this will hold up a little bit better in some dirty environments. The multi-tool features, I think this is really neat. I did get some use out of this, some genuine use. So I thought that was, pretty cool. You have two on either side. And if you don't like the tools, you can just take them out and just have the knife. It'll even lighten the knife up a little bit. The pocket clip on this is absolutely amazing. I love this pocket clip. I want to see Camillus do more of it. Again, the steel on this one is 420, and I talked in the review of this one. This is another knife I have in Camillus, is 420. This is the Chunk, and Austin, my cousin Austin, has one of these that he uses as his work knife, and it's held up wonderfully. And I encourage you to check out, the review. I did the review on this so long ago, and my channel is very young. It's a pretty crappy review, honestly, but check out the Cheap Knife Olympics. We tested Austin's, and that knife, we did brutal things. We're throwing them at trees, we're pounding on them with stuff, and this knife held up amazingly well. Camillus does have some great build quality. And then I also did a long-term review on this. I'm going to have to get Austin in here on the channel sometime with his so we can talk about how his is held up. But anyways, I definitely do think that this knife will last a good long time, and I think it's a great knife. So it gets number 3. I think Camillus makes some great knives in this price category. Number 2, the Swinky. I hope some of you looked up the name, what the name Swinky means, and I hope you were traumatized. But anyways, this is a fantastic knife, and the only reason I couldn't decide which one of these to put first or second. I decided on this one because I've carried this knife a lot more, and I've gotten a lot of use out of it because it's small. You can carry this while you're carrying something else. But 7CR blade, not the best, but you know, this knife was $15. You get the multi-tool feature, the screwdriver pry bar with the bottle opener. It's really, really cool. Nice little Warncliffe blade for all types of stuff. And it's non-locking, which means it's going to be legal for a lot of people. And overall, the build quality on this just really, really impressed me. I think this is a fantastic little fifth pocket carry. And there's not a whole lot more to say. I think this is a really, really cool knife. Not something I could picture my grandpa carrying, though. I think he would hate it. But again, this isn't all about him. So yeah, great fifth pocket carry. But an even greater fifth pocket carry, in my opinion, the Camillus LK6 gets first place. This was the most expensive knife. I got this for $22, I think. I think other places are selling these for like $25. I think you can get this on Blade HQ for about $25. This is a great knife. D2 steel, might be a little bit harder to sharpen for new people, but they do give you good sharpening choil, so I don't think, with a little bit of practice, if you even have rudimentary sharpening skills, you'll be able to figure it out. But for me, the best thing about this knife is just the ergonomics. This knife fits in my hand like a glove. It feels like a big knife, even though it's not. The blade performs really, really well. There is some lock rock and stuff, but it has the best action for sure. This is a really, really great knife, and I think it 100% stole the show of Cheap Knife Week this time around. So, we're awarding it Best Cheap Knife of this bunch. Woo, round of applause! So there we have it. Cheap Knife Week has come to an end. I'm really curious as to what you guys thought about this series, and if you want me to, whoops, bump the camera. And if you want me to do this again, 5 more knives, I'll carry them for a while, review them all, post all the reviews in a week, and then have a conclusion video. I had a lot of fun with this. Again, I like finding hidden gems in the bargain bins. And yeah, I would not mind doing this again. I'd like your feedback. What could be better? What should I include? I almost did do the Spyderco Tenacious in this lineup because I actually bought this at a Walmart when I was, 18? I've had this knife for a long time. And, I know a bunch of other people who buy Tenaciouses at Walmart. The reason I didn't include it is because it was I wanted to set the bar for this set at under $30, and these are like $45. Although when I got mine, there's a special sale. I ended up getting my Spyderco Tenacious for $20. I know, it was a steal. But maybe I'll include the Spyderco Tenacious. I will say I am not going to do the Crkt Squid. I owned a more plain Jane version of the Squid a long time ago. This is a Blade HQ exclusive, and I have a review of this coming up because I'm getting ready to... I want to get the new Squid XM from CRKT, and I realized I never reviewed the Squid before, so I already filmed a standalone review of this knife, so we won't be doing that one. But yeah, I would love to do this again. Once again, sound off in the comments, what do you think I should set the price limit at if you want me to do this again? Any suggestions that you have for knives that you've seen in your hardware stores or stuff, I would give a shot. And yeah, overall takeaway from this, Camillus makes some really, really great knives for very, very budget prices. And this is something I kind of already knew, again, bringing out this knife. The way this knife held up to all the abuse Austin I put it through really surprised me. Camillus really does make some fantastic knives. So yeah, that's gonna be it, guys. I have nothing else to say, so I'm not gonna sit around here yammering on anymore. If you like the video, leave it a like, comment below, and subscribe. I've been Gideon. I'll see you in the next one. Adios.